You're watching Den Pubs TV.
The fourth annual Adirondack Young Professionals Economic Forum. The forum tonight will focus on the quality of life today and into the future. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Tim McCormick. I'm the Vice President and Treasurer of the Adirondack Young Professionals. ADKYP is a nonprofit organization that focuses on increasing the quality of life for young professionals in the area by allowing them to network and volunteer in various activities. We are a member-based organization, and there are membership applications by the door if you would like to join. We are also accepting money tonight for donations to the American Red Cross. To begin with, I would like to introduce our board of directors. If I could have everyone come up here and join me. Okay. To begin with, we have Brittany, Ty, Pete, who's our secretary, and Chris. We do have one board of director tonight who was unable to make it, our president, Carrie Mack. Her father recently passed away, and she is attending to a funeral or a wake right now. Our thoughts are with her tonight, and we wish her well. Okay, now I would like to introduce Jeremiah, who is our MC tonight. He's going to be asking all the questions. Jeremiah is the senior editor for Den Publications, working on Berg and the Northwestern. Jeremiah.
Thank you, Tim. And I have the pleasure of introducing our fine esteemed panel here tonight. We have, starting from the far end here, we've got Carrie Haley, Executive Director of the Foundation of CDPH. We have Rick Leibowitz, Director of the North Country Small Business Development Center. Aaron Hines, Economic Developer with the Development Corporation. Joshua Kretzer, owner and designer of Pod Studio. And we have Nikki Wright, I'll make sure you get this right, Director of Planning Services for the Adirondack Economic Development Corporation. So we can all have a round of applause for our panel. Now we have a list of questions that have been prepared by the Adirondack Young Professionals, and also we will be having questions taken by the audience tonight, which I believe, Tim, we have papers here to fill out.
At every table there's pen and paper for you to fill out. I'll be walking around to pick up the papers, and I'll bring them up to Jeremiah. So write down any questions you guys might have.
Very good. Okay, so we'll start off with our first question that was prepared. 64% of newly college-educated people say they will choose a place to live first, then find a job. They often cite physical attractiveness of an area as a high importance, such as clean, safe streets and green spaces. The welcoming nature of a community, climate, professional opportunities, and cultural and recreational activities also play a role in their decision process. And I'll toss this one first, Aaron. How would Plattsburgh and its surrounding towns rate on their decision scale, and what can be done to improve their perception of this area?
Hey, hi, good evening. Thank you for having me. I really do think that there is some truth to this statistic. Recently, my coworker and I were at a conference in Baltimore, and one of the topics of discussion was about the talent economy and how there's a gradual shift that's occurring, especially in the 21st century, from company attraction to talent attraction, and that we are becoming more of a talent-based economy. In fact, there was a quote in Forbes magazine that kind of describes this, and I just want to share it with you. It says, "The most valuable natural resource in the 21st century is brains. Smart people tend to be mobile and watch where they go." So you really see this as a change from traditional economic development model, where the build it and they will come mentality is really what you think: brick and mortar, and then people, and then the jobs, and then the people. But I think what they're calling these smart communities are really marketing themselves differently, and they're marketing themselves to this type of person that's looking for more of a, maybe like a hip lifestyle, or a lifestyle where you have a city, but you can still be out in the suburbs, quality of life, all those, things that you typically think that somebody that is young and up-and-coming would be looking for. So I think places like Burlington or Saratoga have this type of vibe going on right now. you know, and it's funny, the irony to it is that for a site selector, quality of life is not their first criteria. A site selector is looking at bottom line, they're looking at facilities, they're looking at workforce, so this dichotomy arises of what a young professional wants versus what a business is looking, you know, what they're looking for. Not to say that quality of life doesn't play into their ultimate decision factor, it does, but at first glance, you're not, you know, if you're a site selector looking, you're looking to see if they have the facilities that meet your bottom line standards. So, and I think that, you know, as far as Plattsburgh goes, I do think that we do have a lot of good things going for us. We have, we're one of the most beautiful areas in the country. We have a lot of recreational opportunities. We kind of have that small town feel, but there's still kind of a city-like vibe that you can, you know, there's more than one traffic light. And I also think that there's a lot of tradition. There's a lot of, you know, families that have had long-standing relationships with the area. But I do think that there are areas that we are kind of missing, and maybe missing this type of talent attraction. And not to say that we haven't made positive steps and strides in that manner, but arts and culture, walkable communities, communities that have maybe a higher end or upper scale retail options, as well as I would say restaurants that maybe serve different sorts of ethnic food, you know, things of that nature that we're working towards, but I don't think we're quite there as some of our other, you know, I wouldn't quite call them competitors, but places that are located around us.
If anybody else would like to chime in, feel free as well. I mean, what can we do to improve the perception of the area?
Well, I know that, is it on? I think so.
Yeah.
Well, like you said, with all the culture and things people are looking for, like the North Country Cultural Center for the Arts is making great strides and doing their best to continue the rejuvenation of the Strand Theater, which once the Strand is here, and you know, we'll have some more opportunities, bring in some shows, things that people want to see, and I think that the young people are starting to, you know, take their ideas from either going away, living in other places for a number of years and coming back, taking what they've learned from other larger metropolitan areas and applying them to Plattsburgh, and it's, I think it's starting to take shape.
Anybody else want to chime in? Don't be shy. Come on. Yeah, give Rick the mic. There we go.
I'll tie in a little bit to what Erin said. I think you have to look. We're a rural area. There's just no way around that. So you have to look at this as a region. We're the Champlain Valley and the Adirondack Park, and they're interconnected. And in this area, we have a couple of cities, mainly the city of Plattsburgh, being the big urban center of this rural area. And it's good, and there's something for everyone. There's every outdoor recreational activity you could want in this region. You have water sports, you have mountain sports, you have hiking, you have natural beauty. You have organized sports as well that you can deal with. There's boating activities. There's something for everyone here. But in this big, diverse region, there's not big, diverse regional planning. There's some beautification efforts going on. We got this Saranac River Trail project that's going. It's wonderful, it's beautiful, but there's still more that can be done with urban planning and downtown Main Street development planning. And there's, you know, little bits and pieces, strides taken together, but nobody's brought it together, the whole region, you know, having Main Streets done in all the small communities in this area. And I think we can build upon that in the future.
Very good. Now, another question we have here is, an important aspect to retaining, attracting, and growing entrepreneurial talent in rural regions is access to education. When communities provide access to educational resources to their entrepreneurs, they are more likely to build new skills for business management and development. Now, we'll toss this one to Nikki. Is the Plattsburgh area doing its part, offering this support to young entrepreneurs?
I actually am located in Saranac Lake, and while we cover Plattsburgh, I can't speak for Plattsburgh directly. But as far as offering support to young entrepreneurs, I know that ADC, where I work, and many people that we partner with, and we partner with both the SBDC with Rick and the Development Corporation, and offer free services to entrepreneurs and classes or one-on-one counseling. So they're available, it's just maybe entrepreneurs don't always know that they're available. So if there's any way that we can better market that, we're definitely open to suggestions. We don't have a class going on in Plattsburgh right now, but AEDC has one going on in Saranac Lake, which is, you know, if there's enough interest here, we could easily start one and work together with somebody else here. So it is available. As far as Plattsburgh specifically, it can be. I don't know if it is or not.
And Josh, you're an entrepreneur yourself. I mean, this makes you obviously. What do you think? Is it offering enough support?
Well, one of the first things I did when I came back to the area was I went to the Small Business Development Center when I decided I was going to start a business here in Plattsburgh, and I had a lot of great insight from them as far as taxes and just getting everything, the ball rolling and filing and different kinds of things I needed to do, and it was a huge asset to me, and they supported me every step of the way.
Yeah, I'll chime in a little. Josh said that because he worked with one of the counselors and not me.
That's true.
No, I mean, just education in general. We do have obviously I'm proud of the Small Business Development Center and what we do, but we do have AEDC, we do have the Development Corporation as a resource. The North Country Chamber of Commerce has a SCORE chapter, which also provides business development assistance. And then, we have, and I have to quote Herb Carpenter, we have the shining jewel of the North Country. We have SUNY Plattsburgh, of which I'm a part of, but it's a great educational institution. I work very closely with the School of Business and Economics there. We have Clinton Community College, which is one of the most dynamic community colleges I've ever seen in the country. I can't say enough about John Jablonski and what he's doing there. We have Paul Smith's College in the Adirondacks, where I happen to be a guest lecturer, so I'm really proud of that. NCCC as well. I mean, there's tons of educational opportunities in this region for anyone who wants to learn. So I think it's all here.
And I would just add that one of the things that I have to say that is really great about this area is that all of these organizations work together really well. And if you do have suggestions, or if you feel frustrated if you're an entrepreneur and you don't think that your needs are being met, they are open for suggestions. I served on a couple of business advisory councils that were developed for specific workforce needs, and out of that grew 2 or 3 other programs. Just from as we sat around the table and we figured out that we're not meeting all of these expectations. What else can we do? And I think that is something that's important to note, that if you do feel like you're on the outside, ask somebody, because you never know, there could be a program, or they may be able to develop a program for you. And in marketing it too, that's the other thing. The marketing, I don't know exactly how everybody does their marketing, but if Rick knows about it, it's something, there's more than likely the community college is going to know too. So if you go to one place or the other, you should be able to find what you're looking for.
Well, a major factor in the ability for rural regions to retain and attract healthcare professionals is and you can tell here it's coming your way, is the economic opportunities afforded to these individuals. However, the financial incentives do not solely include salary. For example, many rural regions include incentives such as bonuses for on-home service, travel pay for education and conferences, and vacation pay. Moreover, many believe that tuition reimbursement programs are effective ways to attract young professionals. Now, Carrie, what incentives are CDPH offering to young professionals to entice them to settle in that?
Well, at CDPH, we're always looking for the best and brightest healthcare professionals, whether they're from this region or outside of the North Country. We do offer competitive salaries, but we also have other incentives as well. And those might include covering the cost of moving someone here, sign-on bonuses, or providing additional education that they might need to get them up to speed with a certain position that we know they're right for. We really value education, so we have programs in place that will help pay for continuing education credits so folks can maintain their licensure. We have tuition reimbursements for folks going back to college, and even with the foundation, which I'm part of, we have scholarships available for those folks. In particular, when we bring candidates in from outside of the region, our recruiters are very good at getting them acclimated to our area, bringing them around to the different schools, giving them tours, talking to realtors, making sure that they understand all that we have to offer and what the North Country is all about. And so I think that helps us when we're bringing those people in, that they know what they're moving to. Another great thing that they do is look for folks who are similar maybe to who they are, whether it's a new employee with a young family, they try to match them up with another CDPHer who has a similar profile, or it's a young single woman who's interested in cycling, so we'll find somebody else and try to match them up so they can pursue similar interests and start making connections. And even after they're here for a few months, our recruiters are following up with them to make sure that the experience is what they've expected, that we're meeting their needs, that they're happy with us. And we're really about not just bringing them into CVPH and finding a right fit for us, but finding a right fit for the North Country too, because we want to help this grow as a region.
So Rick and Aaron, do you want to chime in too? How do you think that helps with, spurring more business or, I guess increasing business?
I didn't come prepared with my statistics, I'm sorry.
You didn't come prepared with statistics? Statistics, that's amazing.
Yeah, but I do I believe it's something like 20% of the salaries in the North Country do come from healthcare-related industries. It's somewhere in the 20%, and obviously that money gets spent on things, and it gets spent on the associated services. And those people that want to provide the products and services that these well-paid professionals can pay for, obviously can benefit for that. And, every economy is cyclical. People earn money, people spend money. People earn money, people spend money. And for entrepreneurs, you have to look for where that money is, and obviously CVPH is a big part of that.
Well, I think for many of us who have left the region, I was one of them, I left and I came back, you kind of figure out that the pay scale for the most part in metro areas tends to be a little bit higher than that in rural areas. And, so sometimes, you factor in other things, quality of life being one of them, of, where you're willing to be. But the stark reality is that a lot of people, when they are first entering into the workforce, they're saddled with a lot of student loan debt, and you can't really go and take a job that maybe is not going to pay as much. You may have to leave in order to do that, in order just to pay the bills. So it's good, that maybe that, and a lot of that has to do with corporate culture too, the type of business that comes in. If you have a small mom and pop store, they're probably not going to pay a tuition reimbursement, for you. But as larger businesses that come into the area that are more familiar with this type of structure, or using CVPH as a model, for other businesses that are here locally that may want to do something like that. I know tuition reimbursement, that could be a huge attraction, especially since we have, a lot of major colleges within a 2-hour drive of the Plattsburgh area that, we're able to educate them, but we're not able to keep them, and a lot of that's driven by the bottom line, your own personal bottom line. So I would encourage other businesses to maybe look at what some area places like CBT are doing to see if it could work for them.
Okay, well, we'll move on to the next one. The majority of local young professionals looking for employment are looking for jobs that can offer flexibility in scheduling. An increasing number of employers in more metropolitan areas have implemented more product-driven ideologies as opposed to strict scheduled office hours. This process of scheduling is more appealing to young professionals who may be starting new families. By allowing portions of the workforce to conduct business remotely during approved times, young professionals have been found to show increased productivity levels while having the opportunities to nurture their families. So then the next question would be, are Plattsburgh employers showing any signs of this following trend, and what can be done to motivate them to implement similar policies? And who wants to take that one, feel free to jump in. And it goes to Rick.
Just about any region in the country, you'll find the majority of businesses are small businesses, particularly in the North Country, 95% of the businesses in this region would be classified as small businesses. And it's the small business owners that have the less stringent corporate policies that can offer this flex time. I mean, some of the big corporations do offer flex time, but small businesses can offer that. And a lot of times small businesses can offer, the big benefits packages, the retirement plans that big businesses can, the healthcare packages that big businesses can. So when it comes to attracting talent, that's a competitive advantage to small businesses, is offering those flex time scheduling. And we were actually talking about this a little bit before among our group here. And one of the challenges in the North Country, though, is to have that flex time scheduling. In today's economy, you do need better broadband services than what we have in the North Country. I mean, if you're going to telecommute, you need to be able to work from home and work at the speed of business today. And that there are some areas. In fact, one of our counselors, the one that Josh worked with, lives in an area where she still has dial-up. And I remember when we had that big snowstorm, obviously I tell her stay at home. And she could have been productive from home if she had broadband service, but really there was zero productivity from her that day because she was on dial-up. And that's one of the realities we're facing here in the North Country. And I live in the town of Plattsburgh, and I have very limited options for broadband in the little section of Plattsburgh where I'm at, within town limits. And it's becoming, and for those people who have 3G, we all know about the little holes in service up here. And so, we do have to get into the 21st century if we are going to offer that flex time to the level that some other communities are doing that.
Well, I know an example. My sister-in-law, she was appointed JCEO, and she was offered a sort of flex time, which she took advantage of when she was pregnant for her first child, where she was able to do a lot of her work from home. And when it came time to have her second child, she decided to resign. But during that time, the fact that they were supportive of her, it gave her an opportunity to continue in the workforce when she would have had a year where she would have been home, not able to do anything. So I think people are starting to really understand the need.
I think that there are more benefits to offering flex time as well, not just for the families. I mean, it's great, and I'd be there one day, but, there's a lot of outdoor activities that you can do around here, and it gets dark fast in the winter. So if you have flex time, you can maybe work longer hours earlier in the week and go skiing on Friday, or go into work early and then go snowshoeing at night. And the same thing in the summer, even though there's a lot of daylight in the summer, you can't go kayaking in the middle of the night necessarily. So flex time gives you that ability to enjoy where you're living and take advantage of that whole quality of life that everybody talks about.
So while the Plattsburgh area may have affordable housing, it comes at a price. Often individuals moving into the region must downsize or purchase a fixer-upper kind of place. Other than offering young professionals higher salaries, what do you think can be done to increase the standard of living for young professionals in the region? Josh, I'll put that to you. How about that? What do you think?
I think that there are plenty of things to do in Plattsburgh. I think oftentimes we hear from people that there's nothing to do, no one's offering any activities. This is a tough one. I just think that people need to take advantage more of what Plattsburgh does have to offer. Again, I'll say the North Country Cultural Center for the Arts that's constantly offering programs for families, for adults, for young children. And it's just, you have to look for them. You can't wait, for something to fall in your lap. You have to actively look in the papers, look in the community calendars, see what's happening, and that's one way I think that everyone can take advantage of all the things that we are doing on a weekly and daily basis here.
Jump in.
I'll jump in. Another thing too with this question, as I was thinking about it, because it kind of was, you kind of pondered it and going, oh, I don't know, because of course high salaries are really what you would like.
Oh, yeah.
However, I think some of the stuff is out of our control. For instance, property taxes. 9 out of the top 10 highest taxed counties are located, and this is nationwide, are located in upstate New York. So we have some things that are out of, high taxes kill affordability, and it's understandably when you live in a city, there's certain services that you expect, so you're willing to pay so much for those services. But there are some other things that factor in that come down from the state level and also the federal government level, and then you're dealing with your local municipalities that do take away from your disposable income. So it's really trying to figure out ways to maximize what income you do have and what disposable income you do have. And I think Josh brings up a good point. Some people may be willing to, take the hit on the tax bill if there's other things and other opportunities for them and their families, including the arts, the cultural amenities, and as well as recreational opportunities. It really comes down to your personal choice and what you're willing to sacrifice, and your own cost-benefit analysis that you have to do, that we all do, when we're thinking of moving to a particular area or taking a different job.
I'm just going to echo a couple of things about the knowledge of people needing to know what we do offer. We do have a lot here in the region, all 4 seasons long, things to do and activities going on, and we just don't all know about it. And in regards to housing, I just think of my own personal experience where we did buy a fixer-upper as our first home, and that's where we still live. And we went and looked for a type of mortgage that would allow us to buy a home and include money in that so that we could fix it up. And so I think looking for those types of opportunities can, afford you to get a house that you want and turn it into what you want it to be. So continuing to look for those type of resources.
The problem here is once you fix a house up,
your taxes are high.
Your
Yeah.
taxes go up, you can't afford it anymore.
Yeah.
We have a beautification project going on in Rouse's Point, and I know multiple property owners who have taken advantage of it, and their assessments have gone through the roof and they no longer afford the property. I know one person on Lake Street who actually took out the windows in the dog society. His taxes back.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do about it.
Right. Yeah, that's it.
That's why we're in. Okay.
There's always kayaking at night. You can just go kayaking at night and everyone will feel better.
So this kind of actually, brings me to a question. We thought the reporter had a question. But what if you've actually been born and raised here? What do you think would attract somebody to the region? But if you're not born and raised here, what attracted you here? We can go right down the line. So, Carrie, what attracted you, or are you from the area originally?
I'm originally from the area, and when I graduated from Plattsburgh State, I thought, oh my gosh, I need to get out of here, and moving to the city, that's where I'll find a job. And went on interviews, and spent some time in DC, a little bit of time in New York City, and then I would just come home and think, oh, thank God I'm home. I thought, well, why do I want to leave then? And was fortunate to be able to find a job and have been able to grow my career here. But the things that draw me to the region are the fact that we have green space. That I get frustrated when there's a lot of traffic on Route 3. So imagine driving in the city, big city. So I really enjoy that. And the safety of the area. Those are things that I really value, and everything just feels so much cleaner. The outdoor activities are wonderful. I think we have a lot of great opportunities that are growing now with our arts, and so I'm excited to see that as well.
I didn't grow up in this area. I grew up in New Jersey, and then left New Jersey as soon as I could. And went to beautiful places like Alaska, Arizona, and then somehow ended up in Muncie, Indiana, and I came here from Muncie, Indiana, so anything looks better than Muncie, Indiana. Sorry to say.
I apologize to all the people who are watching.
Yeah, in Muncie, Indiana. But one of the things I will say is, you know, personally, when I explore a location, I've moved around a lot. I have 2 tests, and the first one actually, someone sitting 2 spots away from me. When I interviewed for this position, I was put up at the Best Western, and Josh Kretschler happened to be working at the front desk. I checked in at about 11:30 at night, and you know, I was tired after, you know, a long flight and the trip from Burlington to the ferry. And I just asked him some questions about the area, and I ended up having a 20-minute conversation with Josh when I first moved to, you know, checked in. And I'm like, man, I hope there's more people in town like Josh Kretzer. I mean, seriously, it was just a very warm, welcoming feeling. And then the second thing I do, and I do this every time I look at a location, I go to the supermarket, and I just try to start a conversation with a stranger and see how they react. So I went to the Hannafords, and I started a conversation with 2 strangers, and it was very engaging conversations. And that's how I decide where I want to live. And then obviously the natural beauty. I mean, we've got Lake Champlain, the mountains all around, and it is just a beautiful area. And the people are wonderful. So that's the quality of life is here. There's no doubt about it.
Well, I don't have that great of a story like Rick has.
Set the bar high.
Yeah, I know. I am originally from here, and like I said, I moved away, and the reason why I moved away, I think it's not a bad thing to do that. I think for many young professionals, it's good to go out, you experience different places, other cultures, other people, and different experiences, and then you can bring that back. I think that's something good. That's something that keeps the community growing, and it's something that, you know, I think that is good, especially in areas where there may not be a lot of metro opportunities around it. So, for my, you know, my reasoning coming back was, you know, twofold. One was I found a job that I really liked and thought that it would be a great opportunity for me, and then also my family. I just have a lot of family here, and I think when you're in your 20s, you know, you have a completely different view on life, and by the time you reach your 30s and you're, you know, you're inching towards your 40s, your values change, and what you value and what you want. I kind of wanted to come back to a slower paced lifestyle, and it was an adjustment for me. But I felt I worked in politics before, and that's really, you know, it's 24/7, and it's nonstop, and it takes a toll on you because you're always working. But I think that kind of that feel of when it's still the homey feeling, but you still have you still have things that you can do. You don't feel like you're really sacrificing stuff, and that you're in an area where you can either hop on a plane or take a 2-hour drive or a 3-hour drive, and you're in a major city somewhere. You know, in Boston, Montreal, Albany. You know, so I think that can be an attraction itself. You take all this stuff that everybody's saying about quality of life, and then you kind of get the best of both worlds, you know, that you can still have it both. And that's the one thing I didn't realize maybe when I was in my 20s, but now I realize it in my 30s.
I'm a native of the North Country, went to Beekman Town High School with Carrie. Go Beekman Town, go Eagles. And after that I went to school in Rochester for some time, and then moved to New York City and studied and worked in New York for about 10 years. And I was working in design. I went to FIT and got a job with a designer, and then I started doing event planning on my own. So the last probably 4 years that I lived in New York, I had no time. I was completely burned out, wasn't able to come home to see my family who still lives here. And I came home, you know, 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, and it was summer. I went sailing with my brother, I went hiking with some friends, and that's when I decided I wasn't going to go back to New York. So I'm still subletting my apartment, and you can't let them go. You can't. And so I don't know, it was the best decision I made. And then, you know, just looking at the area and what I had been doing in New York, noticing, checking the demographics here, seeing that there was a need for the services that I provided, I just made the decision that this is where I needed to be. And I still love New York. I still work occasionally in New York and travel there for work, but I'm very happy to be here. And like Aaron says, it's all so close. in distance. You know, a 5-hour drive, you're in New York City, an hour you're in Montreal, but at the same time, you get to be here where you can breathe. And I'm very grateful for coming home. It's the best decision I've made.
I'm also Adirondack native, not Plattsburgh area, but Saranac Lake. And I went away for a few years, and my first time coming home, I was pulling up, I will never forget this, and I was coming over a hill, and all of a sudden the mountains were right there. And I mean, I was perfectly happy living where I was, but I did not realize that I missed the mountains until I saw them. And I think that's kind of when I decided that wherever I live, there has to be some sort of outdoor activities, mountains, the scenery. And when I was applying, I applied to both cities and locally. And I actually found that based on salaries and cost of living, it was the best job was local. So I ended up staying, and now all of my friends are jealous of me because I can go skiing on Fridays.
Very good. So back to another one of our questions here we have on the list. In many cities throughout the world, young professionals are able to rely on public transportation. Locally, they must own a vehicle. When that cost is added to fuel, maintenance, etc., it can drastically reduce the money they have to play with. So how do you see young professionals getting around in the future? Who wants to feel that? I think it's back to you.
Well, how do I see it in the future?
We're talking the Jetsons, you know.
Yeah. Seriously, transportation is so critical to business. It's so critical to quality of life. It really is a smaller world, and a lot of that has to do with the technology. But the technology has not kept pace with transportation in regards to moving. And having city centers, and one of the things, when you talk about mass transit, you need to have the mass of people to make it pay for itself. But actually, we do have enough of a critical mass of people, and we do have enough of urban areas around us where we tend to frequent on a regular basis where we could make something like that. I'm a huge fan of high-speed rail. I don't understand why we don't have high-speed rail to Montreal and New York City from this area. I really don't. It's something that has to be developed. I also think shipping routes, it's just unbelievable that we haven't gotten past freight trains and tractor trailers with shipping products yet. And there's got to be a more efficient way. But some entrepreneur out there is going to figure it out and figure out a profitable way to do it. I'm confident in that.
I think that, again, it's also looking for the transportation, like the Clinton County Transportation, or Clinton County Public Transit. They offer transit all throughout the city of Plattsburgh, also to Ausable, Champlain, Rouse's Point, Cherubusco, Morris, Peru, even out to like Standish and near Redford. So I think that we have, at least we have something. And we also have good relationships, I think, with the Essex County Transportation Center and Franklin County Public Transit, where we're starting, I think, hopefully to work together to have all of the transit companies working to have stops in similar areas so that people can travel in a greater distance in this local area. So at least we have something.
Yeah, I'll follow it up. Maggie Berry, who is the person who oversees CCPT, she's a young professional herself, so she definitely gets the need for, we'll say rural transit, because mass transit is a little bit different than rural transit. And the county has really been working towards, like you were saying, it's coordinated assessment program, but also looking at a full transportation needs assessment. And they were awarded a grant by DOT this year to send out an RFP to start looking at the entire transit system and ways to make it better. And Maggie's very sensitive to the employer-employee relationship, learning to set the routes, or not learning, but trying to set the routes to match business hours versus like a rural route that may be devised for shopping. And you got to think, some of these rural routes, if you get dropped off in the morning, you may not see that bus until night, especially if they're coming from some of these outlying regions. So she really is making a concerted effort right now with the county to move forward with this. And I know the RFP was just awarded And then I think that there's another side to this too, is that I think there is a slight stigma in this area to taking rural transit. If you talk to anybody from New York City, what is the first thing? They don't own cars. That's a luxury item in New York, especially to pay for the parking. You get on a subway or you get on a bus, and that's the way you commute to work. That's the way you get places. It's true. And there's no. I had friends in college that did not get a driver's license until they actually came here to college because they never needed one. So I think that there is this stigma that's attached to the rural transit system as it is, and I think we got to get over that.
Is there any stigma out your way, Nikki, for rural transit?
We're kind of just starting the rural transit. For a while I was working in Malone, and that's when everything was starting. And so a bunch of us were saying, oh, well, we can carpool to one spot, take the bus. But like Erin said, it didn't match business hours. So yeah, it was great that it was finally there, but we still couldn't use it. And now, I mean, the buses are all over, so it's definitely moving in the right direction. I live a mile away from work now, so I don't have to worry about it. I walk, but it's... We like to point out, I am a workaholic. I work all the time. It's just that I work odd hours so that I can do the outdoor activities that I love to do. So, to answer your question, I think it's headed in the right direction. And a joint program with Clinton County would be beneficial to everybody.
Well, we have some questions here from the audience, and I'm going to remind you, if you do have any, please feel free to write them down and submit them. We can definitely read those off to you. And this next question we have, in larger cities you see companies offering benefits in the form of gym memberships and daycare compensation. Are you aware of businesses in our region that are heading in that direction? Anybody wants to feel that at all?
Well, as far as gym memberships, my family owns a fitness center in Dannemora, and I know that through many businesses, through insurance providers, they're offering packages for healthy living, gym memberships and such. So I know that some businesses that are offering those types of insurances are.
At CBPH, we own a gym, the Park Wellness Center, and you have to pay to go as an employee, but you do get a nice discount, so that is sort of an extra perk for that.
I can't specifically say who because of confidentiality, but I do have a number of clients that offer those benefits as well. I will also jump up on a soapbox though, and when you talk about small business development and them being able to offer these benefits to compete against some of the larger companies, what we need though is a more stable tax code where if you offer that benefit, it's a deductible expense right now, but you don't know whether you're going to get taxed on it next year or not. And a lot of businesses are really concerned about offering those benefits because they don't know whether it's going to be tax deductible or not this year or next year, both at a state and federal level.
And another question we have here is, if you could change one thing about the North Country, what would it be? And I guess I'm sure could chime in for that one. You can't change the weather, okay? If we want to.
I'll jump right on that. The amount of levels of government in the North Country, there needs to be consolidation. I'm sorry, I'll step on that soapbox any day, any opportunity I get. It's just ridiculous the amount of different levels of government for such a small rural area, and the amount of over-regulation because of that, or over-taxation.
Do you find that has a big adverse effect on either businesses starting up or maybe being attracted to the area?
Very much so, yeah. I do. I mean, it's like when someone moves to Plattsburgh like me, like I did 3 years ago, we don't know the difference between the city of Plattsburgh and the town of Plattsburgh. We don't know that Bernie and Don don't get along. It's like, and then you come here and you see this silliness. It really is. It's tough. And as someone who started a business in this community, there's some issues about expanding your business outside of the city limits or outside of the town limits, and the way to do it. I'm looking over at my friend Tim there, who's getting involved with zoning with the town of Plattsburgh, and there are some people that come into my office on a regular basis in their decisions about where they do business is where they're dealing with the Plattsburgh Town Zoning Officer or the City of Plattsburgh Zoning Officer. And there's some people that want to have 2 locations for their businesses. They want to think about expanding. And it's like you figure it out in one community, you go 2 miles away and you got a new set of rules. It's just, it's silly. It really is silliness.
We'll stick with this tangent because this is a good one right here. Maybe Aaron and Nikki to chime in as well. I mean, do you hear that as being a problem as well? You know, all this extra layers of government?
Well, yeah, I would say so. It is confusing for businesses that are coming in, especially, you gotta remember, for us, we're dealing with a lot of foreign companies. So, you know, we have that added, you know, added layer, I guess to use that. They have, you know, this is completely foreign to them. And when you're trying to explain jurisdictional boundaries, you know, forget it. So yeah, I mean, I would have to agree with Rick that there needs to be a more concerted effort. If it's not a, you know, because consolidation can cause angst because of what it entails. But even if you can't do that, maybe a standardized zoning code or a standardized a countywide plan or development, or you know, and again that means that individual fiefdoms will have to kind of give up some of their own power. But if it means making a transition from, you know, prospect to actual business opening of the door, then maybe it's something we should look at.
Do you find there's a lot more red tape that maybe might scare away businesses?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, thank God there's people, you know, like Rick and our corporation that can cut that red tape because we can navigate it because we do it on a daily basis. We're familiar with it. We know the right people to call to the table, and that helps. But if you're just a person that's in, you know, Nova Scotia right now, and you go online, I guarantee it, you're going to be very confused because you're going to see you bounced all over the place, and that's why it's good that you actually need a warm body on the other end of the phone. You know?
How about you, Nikki, in your business? Do you hear that at all as being an issue?
Definitely. A lot of the North Country communities have that issue, and so it comes up frequently. I mean, I don't have anything new to add. They both said it very well. It's continuing to be a problem, and there needs to be some sort of, you know, generalized zoning regulations, things like that in each community at least that have more than one town community. I mean, Saranac Lake even has 2 counties. So, and it's not the only one that covers, there are others. So, I mean, it gets that much more difficult for businesses to open. So, I agree with both of them.
I want to add to that. I actually met with a client this morning, and he was talking about opening up a business, and he happens to be a Saranac Lake resident. And it happens to be a business where he had to deal with the county. So I said, so are you in the Clinton County, in the Essex County or the Franklin County part of Saranac Lake? And he goes, I don't know. And I said, well, you have to find out because you need to go to the county to get your DBA certificate. And there's one other permit, I'm not going to say what, that he needs to get through a county. And I said, you need to, he goes, well, how do I know? And he gave me his location. I'm like, man, I think that's right where the dividing line is. And I said, it's silly.
It's a street. The left side of the street is one county, and the right side of the street is the other county, and it's a diagonal street. So it's, you know, it's really complicated. So
I just gave away my client.
We'll edit that out later.
No, you're fine.
So going back from that tangent, what else do you think is a big major thing that you could change about the North Country that might, you know, increase quality of life right here?
Well, I think one thing, and I'm sure you've all experienced this, and I know I did when I was first trying to get into the scene. I think we need to do a better job at growing the farm team, and what I mean by that is I think we need to do a better job at making sure that the next generation is part of the fold, as opposed to, you know, particular, that divide that you see between the older generation and the new generation of people who are running things. And I would like to see more of an interaction and engagement between the generations, because I think that when you're in a position, a leadership position for so long, you no longer really develop your thoughts around what you think the next generation wants. You're thinking about yourself in retirement, of course, you know. So I think it'd be good for succession planning, and I think it'd be good for just the community in general that somehow that synergy is built between the two. And I think that's always been a problem, because I know a lot of you know, people will say, well, there's no way I can break into the good old boys club. You know, it's been around for 40 years, you know, and then they give up. And you know, it's unfortunate, because I think there's a lot that's missed there. And I think you'll find in some of the economic forums that TDC has sponsored, you hear at tables saying, well, I thought this is what you wanted. And then you hear the young person go, no, that's not what we want at all. We actually want this. So I think there's a little bit of a breakdown, and I think we can become a stronger community if we're able to kind of, you know, bridge that gap.
Anybody else, as far as, you know, what would you change if you could about the North Country areas or anything?
One thing that I'm really excited about that, you know, is in the process is with the Saranac River Trail developing, and to talk about connecting all of these different bike and walking paths that we have. It's just going to be so nice to have a great place to ride and or walk and do those sorts of activities. I think that'll add a lot to the community, and there's been a lot of walkability studies done in this area, in the Rouse's Point area, down in Essex County, and I think those two will add to the attractiveness of the area, keeping us all healthier and getting us out walking more, and maybe that'll tie back in with our transportation options, you know, that we'll be able to walk to where we want to get to it for certain things.
And again, Josh, being somebody who's from the area, left, came back, any of that influence from the city at all? Is there something you could see that would help change the area?
I guess the public transportation, I would love to see more of that. I do live in the city of Plattsburgh. I definitely, probably the biggest thing I miss about living in New York is the subways, the buses, and my 1996 Toyota Camry sat in my parents' garage for 10 years, started up, and then I continued to drive it until it died, and you know, there was no need, and I really hope that that's something that will continue to grow as our area grows with you know, new companies coming to the area, you know, larger population of people, and hopefully the transit will follow.
And how about you, in the Tri-Lakes area too? I mean, anything like that that you can see that can be changed for the better?
The main concern that I have is back to broadband. Dealing with a lot of small businesses, they would be much more successful if they had access to broadband like they would in a city. So that's really my biggest concern.
Another question we have, and by the way, if you want to submit a question, please feel free to still do so. We're still taking it. If Laurentian does come to Plattsburgh, do you think many local young professionals will qualify for the management positions? I know a lot of times that's been a question, if they'll be hiring from outside the area and whatnot. I mean, do you think that would be a possibility? Whoever wants to jump in with that? No takers? I mean, basically, I guess the question probably reads, you know, do we have enough skilled workforce, you think, for Laurentian to hire, in your opinion?
Well,
There we go.
we have SUNY Plattsburgh, and we have community college that's graduating great people, and whether you consider those North Country people or not, because some of them have come from outside the North Country, I think once they spend time here, they count as North Country people, and I think, yeah, a lot of them will qualify. Same thing, you know, at Paul Smith College, NCCC, GAI as well. I think there are people that will qualify, and if not, and if the jobs are going from outside, hopefully the younger people in this area will recognize that, see the opportunity, and, you know, get the education and the experience they need so they can get those positions in the future. Again, it's a cycle. It keeps going. I mean, nothing ends.
You can't leave Jeremiah hanging.
Come on. Anybody else?
Without an engineering program in Plattsburgh, you're not going to bring in any local talent into the technical field. They're going to go to Clarkson, and they're going to leave, and they're going to get a job at UAE or Lockheed Martin. I was a defense contractor before I was here. You need an engineering program at Plattsburgh State. Without that, you're not going to draw any local talent in engineering fields.
Would that be fair assessment?
I know one aerospace engineer in Clinton County, all on the way. So, but if anybody knows more than 5 in the Tri-County area,
So you're saying people that already live here versus what about those that are from here and left and may have the opportunity to come back?
they may come back,
Right, so there's an opportunity.
possibly, but why come back if they're making money and they're settled already?
You know, I just happen to work down the hall from them. I have faith in our workforce investment board, and more specifically Paul Grasso, who I believe was the old guy that sat in this spot last year. So I'm the new old guy this year. You've got to have one in every crowd. But I'm confident that once we find out what Laurentian needs, Paul Grasso and the people in this community will rally and they'll come up with that. And they'll develop the programs, and we'll start having some local talent filling these positions. You know, and Erin talked about this in her opening remarks. I mean, it's, you know, what drives? You know, is it, do the businesses drive the workforce, or does the workforce drive the businesses? And it's going to be an ongoing question, but in this particular case, that is a business that is going to drive the workforce, and it might be what decides whether we do get an engineering program here.
And if it stays. And again, it's a Canadian company, and I'm a Canadian who moved here. I'm a transplanter from Montreal. The Canadian dollar is at $1 right now, and if you go back over the last 50 years, every time the Canadian dollar's doing well, the companies come in. 10 years ago, the dollar was doing okay. Champlain Plastics, Barnier, all this. The dollar drops, labor's cheaper in Canada. You start seeing like Barnier plant Berry clothes and this and that. Contracts slow down because they can't afford to compete with Canadian manufacturing facilities. So I mean, we're putting all our eggs in one basket by giving the Canadian companies tax incentives that last for 7 years, and then they're out here. So I mean, in reality, you're going to dump all kinds of money into a program that will facilitate the local economy for 7 years, and then it goes out. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I think we have to start looking at growing stuff in-house. You know what I mean? You start growing businesses from within instead of bringing the businesses from outside in. And right now, from what I see, you see in the papers, all the hoopla is about businesses coming from outside in instead of businesses working inside out. That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not here to start a debate with you, but I will say with the Laurentian program, I think the level of capital investment that they're making into this project, that this is not going to be a short-term prospect. Once the commitment's made, this is going to, it has to be, by nature, a long-term commitment. But I also do agree with what you're saying. There's a movement called economic gardening, and that's exactly what you're talking about. And providing the support to grow these programs from it, setting up the incubators, developing the technology, and providing the support. I think we have a lot of that infrastructure in place. I do think we do need a little bit of political willpower, though, to provide the same benefits to people that are from inside that want to develop their businesses than what we offer to people from the outside. So it's a great point. Thanks for sharing.
And I'll just kind of add to that. What you don't see in the papers are the companies right now that are local that are creating jobs. Unfortunately, that doesn't really come up. But I think of places like Schluter and Schoenbeck. They are continually adding jobs into Schluter. In fact, every time that they've done an expansion, they have added jobs with that expansion. So, you know, what is it, the statistic, 80 to 90% of all new jobs are created by businesses that already exist. So, you know, a community's business retention and expansion program is definitely something that is key. And I don't think that we hear about it as enough because it doesn't make the big headline of 900 jobs. But, you know, there are a lot of businesses locally that are growing and that are creating those jobs from within. And, you know, whether or not local people are being employed by them, you know, I mean, that's, I guess, you know, that's up to their HR, you know. But I do think you're right in the sense that I don't think what businesses that have been here, the workforces that have been here for 25 years, they don't get the press like the newbies, and it's unfortunate because there are a lot of them that are doing some really great work.
Tell the Sun press releases our way, we'll put it in.
What?
Tell the Sun press releases our way, we'll put it in. I think I know somebody. There we go. There we go. I join it. So, and then also, I mean, this is another, well, this isn't a question for the audience, but I know recently the Destination Master Plan was unveiled by the Adirondack Coast Visitors and Convention Bureau, talking about all the grand plans they'd like to do to kind of promote the area as a destination, kind of, you know, brand in with this Adirondack coast. Do you think that will help with the quality of life and, you know, obviously making this maybe a tourism destination as more than it is now currently? And anybody feel free to jump in on that too.
Well, with the Destination Master Plan, I, unfortunately don't have enough knowledge to really elaborate on that, but I'm involved with the Rotary Club here in Plattsburgh, and the Rotary Club encompasses a large district, which is 3/4 in Canada, and Plattsburgh was chosen to be the site for our district conference this year. So we're planning on having hundreds of clubs from our district coming to Plattsburgh to, just to be here to see what Plattsburgh's all about, and I think we're doing things like this to encourage people from outside the area to come in, and I think it's nice. It's a good step.
Do we have any more questions from the audience at all? Alright, I'll turn this back over to Tim.
Alright. Thank you, everyone. Let's give a good round of applause for all of our panelists. Now, I must admit, I am only human. I did leave 3 individuals off of our board of directors. We have 2 on our panel today, both Josh and Nikki, as well as Chris Michaud, who is not here tonight. So, again, my apologies, but we do have other board members. And I want to let everyone know that we do have pizza available, free of charge for everyone. And there is a cash bar. Now, before you get up and grab food and drink, I want to pass one thing along to you, and that's on a statewide level, young professionals are trying to get united throughout the region. Everyone is encouraged to learn more about the We Live New York Summit. The We Live New York Summit is happening March 24th through 26th, and they have a website, WeLiveNewYorkSummit.com. So please check out the website. This was just past me, so I can't tell you too much about it. But go ahead and check out the website and see if it's something you're interested in. And hopefully, one of the big things I received from the panelists is that in order to have a good quality of life in this region going forward, we have to be able to get together and make that happen. So please become active in ADKYP. Help us have a stronger voice so we can make sure that the Adirondacks are a region that you want to live in. Thank you.
Sorry, before we break for pizza, I wanted to do a plug. One of my clients let them know that they're clients. Sitting over here, we have Trish and Bill from ADK Puzzles. This is a puzzle they did for me. This is a picture of my nephew, Sammy, and they converted it into a puzzle. This is one of the small businesses in the community. Very innovative design, nice, beautiful design. You can see their logo. It's a wonderful logo. They're going to have their website, adkpuzzles.com. Will be live in about 2 weeks, I think.